Welcome back to episode 32 of the Reading, Minnesota 4X Mega Beef Farm. In today's episode, we're jumping right back into our first alfalfa silage harvest of year 2, as we look to finish harvesting our second alfalfa field and continue building up our feed reserve for the growing beef operation. Over the past few episodes, we've been extremely busy bringing in our first cut of alfalfa for the year. We managed to completely harvest our first 60-acre field and then move the entire operation over to our second alfalfa field, where we've continued chopping away and hauling material back to the farm. So far, the harvest has been going very well, and we've already managed to stockpile just under 2 million liters of alfalfa inside of our silage bunker back at the Mega Beef Farm. We've still got a portion of this second field left to harvest, but if the yields continue the way they have so far, I think we have a very good chance of pushing that total up close to 2.5 million liters before the day is over. The one thing that isn't looking quite as healthy as our silage bunker right now is our bank account. We've invested a lot of money into expanding the operation recently, and as we start today's episode, we've got less than $50,000 left in the bank. That's not exactly ideal, especially with more expansion plans and operating costs coming up throughout the year. Because of that, we're going to be trying something a little different today. Alongside wrapping up our alfalfa harvest, we're also going to begin taking on some contract work around reading. We've got some larger tillage equipment sitting around the farm, and rather than letting it collect dust, we're going to put it to work and hopefully start bringing in some extra income while the rest of the farm stays busy harvesting. To kick things off today, I'll be hopping into the pickup truck behind me and making my way over to the equipment shed. Waiting for us over there are our John Deere 8345R and New Holland 9884, which I'll be getting attached to our pair of Sunflower 6631 cultivators. Once everything is hooked up, I'll send both tractors out to our first cultivating contract of the day. The nice thing is that this first contract field is actually located right across the road from the alfalfa field we're currently harvesting, so it should work out really well and allow us to keep a close eye on both operations throughout the day. Once both tractors are on the road and heading toward the contract field, I'll jump back into the pickup truck and make my way out to our alfalfa harvest. Both of our John Deere 9700 forage harvesters are already running and working through the field with courseplay, so the harvest operation is already fully underway. What I need to do first is get both harvesters topped back up with silage additive. I've got several pallets loaded in the bed of the pickup truck, so I'll drive around to each harvester and refill them before they run out. Silage additive isn't cheap, but it gives us a noticeable boost in yield, and with the amount of material we're harvesting from these alfalfa fields, it definitely pays for itself in the long run. I want to make sure both forage harvesters stay topped up, so we maximize every load that gets hauled back to the farm. Once both harvesters are refilled, I'll head over to the contract field, where our John Deere 8345R and New Holland 9884 should be arriving. I'll hop into each tractor one at a time, generate courseplay courses, and get both cultivators set up to work the entire field. Once they're configured and working properly, I'll hand them over to courseplay and let them begin earning us some money. At that point, we should have 2 separate operations running simultaneously. Over on one side of the road, we'll have our contract equipment cultivating fields for local farmers and bringing in some much-needed cash. While on the other side, we'll have our alfalfa harvest operation continuing to fill up the silage bunker back at the Mega Beef Farm. After both cultivators are up and running, I'll head back over to the alfalfa field and jump into one of the tractors that's hauling silage. We've currently got 6 tractors running Meyer Silage Boss trailers between the field and the farm, and they've been doing an excellent job keeping up with our 2 forage harvesters so far. From there, I'll spend some time helping haul alfalfa back to the farm so we can really push toward finishing this harvest. With less than half of the field remaining, I'm hoping we can get this entire first cut wrapped up today and officially bring our first alfalfa harvest of year 2 to a close. As we continue harvesting, I'll also be keeping a close eye on the bunker back at the farm. We're getting very close to some impressive numbers, and I'm really curious to see where we end up once every last load from this field has been chopped, hauled, and packed away. At the same time, our contract equipment should steadily be working through fields and bringing in additional income. If everything goes according to plan, we should end the day with a completed alfalfa harvest a much larger silage stockpile, and hopefully a bank account that's looking a lot healthier than it does right now. We've got forage harvesters running, 6 silage trailers hauling, contract equipment working, and a lot of money to make. So let's fire up the engines and get to work. If you're looking forward to this new mega farm series on Reading, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Well, at this point, we've got both of our operations running smoothly, and that means we've now got a total of 10 different vehicles working across the farm and our contract jobs. Between our 2 John Deere 9700 forage harvesters, 6 tractors hauling alfalfa silage, and our 2 large tillage tractors working on contracts, we've definitely got a lot of equipment earning its keep today. After getting both the John Deere 8345R and New Holland 9884 set up on courseplay over in the contract field, I made my way back across the road and hopped into this John Deere 6 or 145 so I could help out with the silage hauling operation. Not only does that give me something productive to do while the other equipment is working, but it should also save us a little bit of money since we're able to replace one of our hired workers with ourselves. I've now managed to get a full load of alfalfa silage from one of our John Deere 9700 forage harvesters. So let's make our way back to the Mega Bee farm and get this load unloaded into the bunker. While I was driving around the field, I noticed this 6 is getting pretty low on fuel. So before we do anything else, I'll stop by our diesel tank and top the tractor back up. The last thing I want is to have one of our silage haulers run out of fuel in the middle of the harvest and bring part of the operation to a halt. Once the tractor is refueled, we'll head over to the bunker and get this load unloaded. We've already brought a tremendous amount of material back from these alfalfa fields, and the bunker is starting to look pretty impressive. Every load we dump in there is pushing us closer and closer to our goal of reaching roughly 2.5 million liters from this first cut. While I'm back at the farm, I'm also hoping to cross paths with the worker that's currently running our John Deere 8 or 400. At this point, we've dumped so much alfalfa into the bunker that it's starting to pile up quite a bit, and I think it's probably time to spend a little while managing the bunker before things get too crowded. So after I unload this Meyer Silage Boss trailer, I'll hire a worker to take back over the John Deere 6R and send him out to continue hauling silage. Then I'll jump into the John Deere 8R 400, disconnect the trailer, and get our silage blade attached, so we can begin pushing back all of the fresh material that's been dumped into the bunker throughout the day. I like to get as much of this alfalfa pushed back and leveled out as possible, because we're going to need every bit of space we can get moving forward. Normally, after finishing a harvest like this, I'd probably start compacting the bunker and get it covered, so we could begin turning everything into silage. But this year, the plan is a little different. We've got some massive corn silage harvest coming up in the next few months, and because of that, I've decided to leave this bunker completely open for now. Instead of sealing it up after the alfalfa harvest, we're going to continue adding material to it throughout the year. My goal is to keep packing alfalfa and corn silage into this bunker until we completely fill it from one end to the other. Once the bunker is finally full, then we'll begin the long process of compacting everything down and covering it up so it can ferment into silage. It's definitely going to take a lot of material to fill a bunker of this size, but with the amount of alfalfa and corn we're planning on harvesting this year, I think we got a pretty good chance of doing it. For now though, let's get this load unloaded, tidy up the bunker a bit, and then get back out into the field so we can continue working towards wrapping up this first alfalfa harvest of year 2. Well, it looks like we're finally approaching the finish line on our first alfalfa silage harvest of year 2. The first of our two John Deere 9700 forage harvesters has now completely finished all of the windrows assigned to its courseplay course, and the second harvester only has a few passes remaining before this entire 60-acre field is officially harvested. It's always nice reaching this stage of harvest, because once that final harvester finishes up, we'll finally be able to start shifting our focus away from harvesting and toward getting all of the equipment cleaned up and put away. We've had a lot of machinery running throughout this operation, and after spending the last several days working non-stop, it's definitely earned a bit of downtime. Now that we're getting close to wrapping things up, I'll start sending some of our equipment back to the Mega Beef farm. As each tractor finishes hauling its final load of alfalfa, I'll begin dismissing the workers and sending the equipment home. The same goes for our forage harvesters. Once they finish chopping the last remaining windrows, I'll get them folded up and on the road back to the farm as well. We've still got quite a bit of alfalfa sitting inside some of our Meyer Silage Boss trailers though. So before anything gets parked away, we'll need to make sure every last load gets hauled back and unloaded into the bunker. I want to make sure we get an accurate idea of exactly how much material we managed to harvest from this first cut before we officially call the job finished. I've also still got our two Challenger swathers sitting off to the side of the field where we left them after mowing. Since we won't be needing them again for a little while, I'll need to get both of those loaded back onto the swather transport trailer and hauled home. Unfortunately, I can only move one at a time, so I'll be making a couple trips back and forth with the pickup truck to get both machines transported back to the farm. Once all of the harvest equipment has made it home and we've emptied the remaining loads of alfalfa into the bunker, I'll jump back into the John Deere 8, our 400 one more time, and spend some time cleaning up the bunker. We've dumped an incredible amount of material into it throughout this harvest, and I'd like to get everything pushed back nice and evenly so we can maximize the available space moving forward. At that point, we'll also take a quick look at the bunker and see where our final totals ended up. We started today with just under 2 million liters already stored, and we've brought in a tremendous amount of additional alfalfa since then. So I'm really interested to see just how close we got to our goal of reaching roughly 2.5 million liters from this first harvest. Once the bunker is cleaned up and all of the harvesting equipment is washed and parked back inside the sheds, we'll switch gears and check in on our cultivating contract. While we've been busy harvesting, our John Deere 8345R and New Holland 9884 have been steadily working away across the road, and by now, they should have made some excellent progress on that field. If they're getting close to the finish line, I'll hop into one of the tractors myself and help knock out a few passes with the Sunflower 6631 cultivator. Not only will that get the contract completed a little quicker, but it'll also allow us to start bringing in some much-needed income for the farm. After investing so heavily into our operation over the last several months, it's going to be nice seeing some money finally starting to flow back into the bank account. For now, though, let's get this last bit of alfalfa harvested, get everything hauled back to the farm, and officially wrap up our first silage harvest of year 2. Well, our cultivating contract is now just about finished, and I'm definitely glad I decided to come over and check on things when I did. It turns out our hired worker in the New Holland 9884 had managed to find his way into a patch of trees and got himself completely stuck. Thankfully, it wasn't anything too serious, and after a little bit of maneuvering, I was able to get the tractor straightened back out and pointed in the right direction. Since then, it's been running perfectly, and both tractors have continued making great progress across the field. At this point, we've nearly finished all of the main up and down passes, and that's usually the biggest milestone when it comes to these larger tillage jobs. Once these final passes are completed, we'll only have a handful of headland passes remaining around the outside of the field, and then this contract should be officially wrapped up. And honestly, that's going to be a pretty nice payday for a day's work. Once we complete this field, we should be able to collect over $80,000 from the contract, which will make a huge difference considering we started today's episode with less than $50,000 sitting in the bank account. It's not going to solve all of our financial problems overnight, but it's definitely a big step in the right direction and should give us a little more breathing room as we continue operating the farm. As we finish up these final up and down passes, I'll start moving both tractors over toward the headlands and get everything positioned so our hired workers can take over. Once they're set up, I'll generate the final courseplay courses and let the workers finish off the remaining passes around the outside of the field while I head back to the farm. Back at the Mega Beef farm, we've still got one last job to finish from our alfalfa harvest. Earlier today, I managed to get most of our harvesting equipment washed up and parked away, but we've still got our second Challenger swather waiting to be cleaned. So I'll get that machine washed up, fueled up, and parked back inside the equipment shed, which should officially mark the end of our first alfalfa silage harvest of year 2. It's always satisfying getting everything cleaned up and put away after a major harvest. We had a lot of equipment spread out across the farm over the last few episodes, and it'll be nice getting everything organized and back where it belongs until we need it again later this year. But just because the silage harvest is over doesn't mean we're done working for the day. In fact, while I was looking through the available contracts earlier, I noticed another opportunity that looks too good to pass up. There's actually a plowing contract available just across the road from the farm, and since we're trying to rebuild our bank account, I think it's the perfect time to jump right into another job. To finish out the day, I'll be firing up our New Holland TJ 500 and our Challenger MT 867. Once both tractors are running, I'll get our pair of John Deere 273013 shank rippers attached, and we'll head over to the contract field. Those are two of the largest tillage tractors on the farm, and they should make pretty short work of this field. My hope is that we can get a good start on the contract before the end of the day and then continue chipping away at it while we look for even more opportunities to earn some extra income. With the amount of money we've invested into the Mega Beef farm recently, I have a feeling contract work is going to become a pretty important part of the operation over the next little while. The extra cash flow will help us stay ahead of expenses and continue growing the farm without having to dip too deeply into our savings. We ended up accomplishing quite a bit today. Not only did we officially finish our first alfalfa silage harvest of year 2, but we also managed to get all of the equipment cleaned up, washed, and parked back inside the sheds at the Mega Beef farm. This harvest turned out to be a huge success, and by the time all of the final loads were hauled back and unloaded, we managed to push our silage bunker to nearly 2.5 million liters of alfalfa. That's an incredible amount of feed, and it's going to go a long way towards supporting our growing beef operation throughout the rest of the year. The nice thing is that we're still not finished filling that bunker. We've got more alfalfa harvests coming later in the season, and we've also got some major corn silage harvests ahead of us as well. So for now, we'll be leaving the bunker open and continuing to add material to it until we can get it completely filled before eventually compacting and covering everything. We also took our first real dive into contract work today, and I'd say that was a success as well. Our John Deere 8345R and New Holland 9884 did a great job working through the cultivating contract, and despite a few small hiccups with hired workers getting stuck, we managed to get the entire field completed. That contract ended up bringing in over $80,000, which was exactly the kind of boost we needed. We started today's episode with less than $50,000 in the bank, and now we've managed to push our account back up over $90,000. That's still not a huge amount of money considering the size of this operation, but it's definitely a step in the right direction and gives us a little more flexibility moving forward. As you can see behind me, we're already putting that momentum to good use. We've now moved over to a plowing contract and have our New Holland TJ 500 and Challenger MT867 working away with the John Deere 2730 rippers. This looks like another solid contract, and hopefully it'll allow us to continue rebuilding our finances while we wait for the next major jobs around the farm. Next episode, we'll continue working on these contracts and see just how much money we can bring in for the farm. We've got some future expansion plans I'd like to start working toward, but before we can do that, we need to make sure the bank account is heading in the right direction. As always, thank you all so much for watching and supporting the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm Series. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next episode as we continue growing the Mega Beef Farm and putting these big tractors to work around Reading, Minnesota. Welcome back to episode 33 of the Reading, Minnesota 4X Mega Beef Farm. In today's episode, we're back on the Mega Beef Farm as we continue preparing for one of the biggest moments in the history of this series, our first major cattle sale. Over the past couple episodes, we've been extremely busy working on our first alfalfa silage harvest of year 2. We recently upgraded our harvesting operation by trading in our traditional mower and windrower setup and replacing it with two brand new Challenger SP 165 self-propelled swathers. These machines proved to be a huge upgrade as they allowed us to cut and windrow our alfalfa in a single pass, greatly improving the efficiency of our harvest operation. Once all 120 acres of alfalfa had been cut and laid into windrows, we brought in our two John Deere 700 forage harvesters and our fleet of 6 tractors pulling Meyer Silage Boss trailers. Over the course of several long days, we hauled load after load of chopped alfalfa back to the farm and packed it into our silage bunker. By the time we wrapped up the harvest in the last episode, we had produced just under 2.5 million liters of alfalfa silage, which will play a huge role in feeding our cattle operation moving forward. After wrapping up the silage harvest, we shifted our attention towards some custom work. With no grain sales and no cattle sales available yet, our bank account had started getting a little uncomfortable. To help keep some money flowing into the operation, we took on a cultivating contract and a plowing contract. The cultivating contract has already been completed and paid out, but we still have some work left to do on the plowing contract before we can collect the final payment. To kick things off today, we'll be hopping into our Challenger MT867 and heading back out to the contract field, where we'll continue working alongside our New Holland TJ 500 to finish ripping the remaining acres. At the moment, we're roughly halfway finished with the contract, and once it's completed, we should earn close to $70,000. That's not a massive amount of money compared to some of the larger operations we've taken on in the past. But every dollar counts right now as we continue preparing for some major investments and expenses later this year. I'll spend a little bit of time running the Challenger myself while we get everything moving again. But once both tractors are operating smoothly, I'll hand them back over to Courseplay workers and let them continue chewing through the remaining acres. If everything goes according to plan, we should be able to get this contract wrapped up and cashed in fairly quickly. Once the plowing contract is complete, we'll head back over to the Mega Beef farm and turn our attention toward what is quickly becoming the most important part of this operation, our cattle. At this point, we now have 2,000 head of beef cattle spread across our 2 feedlots, and we're getting very close to our first major group being ready for market. In just a few more in-game months, we'll finally begin selling cattle for the first time in this series, and that should bring in a substantial amount of income for the farm. Because of that, these next few months are incredibly important. The cattle we're preparing to sell are now entering the final stage of their growth cycle, and I want to make sure we're doing everything possible to maximize their value before they leave the farm. The better fed they are, and the more efficiently we manage them over these next few months, the more profit we'll ultimately receive when sale day finally arrives. A few episodes ago, we introduced our custom fattening ration system, which has been specifically designed to help prepare these cattle for market. This feed mixture combines corn, mineral feed, and silage into a high-quality ration that we're feeding to our oldest group of cattle during the final stretch before they're sold. The system has been working extremely well so far, but after checking our inventory, I've noticed we're starting to run low on several ingredients, and we're also getting low on finished feed. So one of our biggest jobs today will be replenishing that entire feeding operation. First, we'll need to get some corn hauled out of our grain storage and delivered over to the feed mixer. After that, we'll make a trip into town to purchase additional mineral feed from the local co-op, so we can keep the mixer supplied with everything it needs. Once the corn and mineral feed are taken care of, it'll be time to start moving silage. We'll pull a couple of our Meyer Silage Boss trailers out of storage, get some tractors hooked up, and begin hauling silage from our bunker over to the mixer. To speed things up, I'll be utilizing auto drive routes to keep the trailers moving while I jump into the John Deere 544K wheel loader and keep them loaded. The goal is to completely refill the mixer and get it producing as much feed as possible. Once we've got feed production back underway, we'll switch gears and begin delivering the finished ration directly to our oldest group of cattle. I want to make sure their feed bunks are completely topped off and that they have plenty of feed available as they continue putting on weight over the next few months. While we're at it, we'll also spend some time taking care of our younger group of 1,000 cattle. They're still quite a ways away from being sold, so for now they'll continue receiving a simpler silage-based diet while they continue growing. By the end of today, I'm hoping we'll have the plowing contract completed, some extra money in the bank, our feed production fully restocked, and all 2,000 head of cattle well taken care of as we continue preparing for what should be one of the biggest paydays this series has ever seen. We've got a busy day ahead of us, so let's fire up the engines and get to work. If you're looking forward to this new mega farm series on Redding, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Well, we've now got our John Deere 6, our 145, and Meyer Silage Boss trailer fully set up and running. This tractor is currently hauling out the last of the custom feed that we had already mixed up earlier in the year and delivering it directly over to feedlot number 1, where our oldest group of beef cattle is housed. These cattle are getting closer and closer to being market ready, so I want to make sure their feed bunks stay completely full as we push toward our first major cattle sale. While that tractor takes care of feeding the cattle, it's now time for us to focus on replenishing our feed production system. We've burned through a significant amount of feed over the past few months, and if we want to keep these cattle gaining weight efficiently, we're going to need to get our feed mixer loaded back up with plenty of ingredients. The first ingredient we'll need is corn. To get that process started, I'll fire up one of our Kenworth T800 semi-trucks and get the Wilson grain trailer attached. Before we can start loading corn, though, we'll need to grab a tractor and pull our auger over to the grain bins so we can get everything set up for loading. Once the auger is in position, I'll jump back into the Kenworth and begin filling the Wilson trailer with corn. We'll likely have to make several trips back and forth between the grain bins and the feed mixer because I want to make sure we've got plenty of corn on hand. Corn makes up a major portion of our custom ration, and with 2,000 head of cattle on this farm, it doesn't take very long for feed inventories to disappear. Once we got the corn taken care of, we'll switch gears and move on to the next ingredient, mineral feed. I'll bring the Kenworth back to the equipment shed, drop off the Wilson grain trailer, and then hook up our Trout River lib bottom trailer. From there, we'll head into town and make a stop at the local co-op where we'll purchase a full load of mineral feed. After loading up at the co-op, we'll head straight back to the Mega Beef farm and get that mineral feed unloaded into the mixer. At that point, we'll have 2 of the 3 ingredients taken care of, and we'll be getting much closer to restarting feed production. The final ingredient we'll need is silage. By the time we finish hauling the corn and mineral feed, our John Deere 6, our 145, should have delivered most, if not all, of the feed that was already sitting in the mixer. Once that's done, I'll stop that tractor and reassign it to a new task. I'll get it set up on an auto drive route that brings it directly to our silage bunker, and then I'll grab a second tractor with another Meyer Silage Boss trailer and put it on the exact same route. With both tractors cycling between the bunker and the mixer, I'll hop into the John Deere 544K will loader and begin loading silage into the trailers. As each trailer fills up, the tractors will haul the silage over to the feed mixer, unload it, and then return for another load. This should create a pretty efficient system where the tractors keep moving while I stay busy loading. Before long, we should have a steady stream of silage arriving at the mixer, and once all 3 ingredients are stocked up, the mixer can finally get back to doing what it does best, producing massive amounts of custom feed for our beef cattle. If everything goes according to plan, by the end of this process, we'll have feedlot number 1 fully stocked with feed, the mixer loaded back up with ingredients, and thousands upon thousands of liters of fresh custom ration being produced to support our growing herd of 2,000 beef cattle. Well, we've now got plenty of corn loaded into the feed mixer, and that part of the operation is officially taken care of. The mixer has a healthy stockpile of corn to work with, but before we can start producing any more feed, we're still missing one of the key ingredients, mineral feed. To get that handled, I'll switch trailers over and get our Trout River lib bottom trailer hooked up behind the Kenworth T800 so we can make a trip into town. Before we can load any mineral feed though, I've got one small problem to deal with. Our Trout River trailer still has a little bit of lime left over from some of the field work and spreading operations we were doing earlier this year, so we'll need to get that cleaned out first. I'll fire up one of our tractors and get a John Deere 345 dry spreader attached. Once that's hooked up, we'll pull the spreader out of the shed and use it to unload the remaining lime from the Trout River trailer. It's not a huge amount of material left in there, but I'd rather get it cleaned out properly now so we don't contaminate the mineral feed when we load it up at the co-op. Once the trailer is completely empty, we'll finally be ready to hit the road and make our way into town. At the local co-op, we'll load the Trout River trailer full of mineral feed and then haul it straight back to the Mega Beef farm. Mineral feed is a critical part of our custom ration, and with 2,000 head of cattle constantly consuming feed, I want to make sure we've got plenty on hand to keep production running for quite a while. After we get back to the farm, we'll unload the mineral feed into the mixer, and at that point, we'll be just one step away from getting feed production back up and running at full capacity. The only ingredient we'll still need is silage. Once the mineral feed is unloaded, I'll start getting a couple of tractors prepared with Meyer Silage Boss trailers. We'll get them positioned at the silage bunker and ready to start hauling. From there, I'll jump into the John Deere 544K wheel loader and begin loading silage into the trailers so they can shuttle it back and forth to the feed mixer. As soon as the first loads of silage start arriving, we'll finally have all three ingredients in place: corn, mineral feed, and silage. That's when a mixer can get back to work producing our custom fattening ration. And before long, we should be generating thousands upon thousands of liters of fresh feed for our beef cattle. Getting this feed system restocked is one of the most important jobs we have right now. We're only a few months away from our first major cattle sale, and I want to make absolutely sure our oldest herd has all the feed they need to continue gaining weight and maximizing their value before they eventually head off to market. So let's get this mineral feed picked up and delivered so we can move on to the final stage of refilling the mixer and get feed production rolling once again. At this point, we've now hauled and unloaded quite a few trailer loads of silage, and our hired workers have been doing a great job keeping the feed mixer supplied with material. Between all of the corn, mineral feed, and silage we've delivered so far, the mixer has been running almost nonstop, and it's already produced over 100,000 liters of our custom feed ration. That's a really good start, especially considering how much feed our cattle operation consumes on a daily basis. With 2,000 head of beef cattle spread across our 2 feedlots, it doesn't take very long for feed inventories to disappear, so it's nice to finally see the mixer building up a healthy stockpile once again. At this point, the mixer is getting very close to reaching its silage capacity. So I'll hop back into the John Deere 544K and load a few more trailer loads while we still have room available. I want to completely top off the mixer so it can continue producing feed for quite a while without us having to come back and refill it again. Once the mixer is completely full though, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Up until now, both of our tractors have been hauling silage directly into the feed mixer. But once the mixer reaches capacity, there's no sense continuing to send material there. Instead, I'll reconfigure both tractors and change their destination over to feedlot number 2. This second feedlot houses our youngest group of 1,000 beef cattle. Unlike the older cattle that we're preparing for market, these animals are still a long way away from being sold. So for now, we're continuing to feed them a straight silage diet while they continue growing. I've noticed their feed troughs are starting to get a little lower than I'd like. So while we've already got the loader running and the tractor cycling back and forth, this seems like the perfect opportunity to get them topped back up as well. Once the mixer is full, I'll stay in the wheel loader and continue loading silage into the Meyer Silage Boss trailers while our hired workers begin hauling directly to the second feedlot. That should allow us to move a large amount of silage in a relatively short amount of time and make sure those younger cattle have plenty of feed available for the foreseeable future. By the time we're finished here today, my goal is to have both feedlots fully stocked, our feed mixer operating at full capacity and producing custom rations, and all 2,000 head of cattle well supplied with feed. The better we stay on top of feeding now, the better shape our cattle will be in as we continue working toward our first major cattle sale later this year. We've now moved a massive amount of silage out of our second bunker, and I'd say we've made some really solid progress with our feeding operation today. Our feed mixer is now completely topped off with all of the ingredients it needs, and it's been steadily producing more of our custom feed ration while we've been busy hauling silage around the farm. Once the mixer reached capacity, we switched our tractors over to feedlot number 2 and spent some time getting our youngest group of cattle topped back up with silage. Those cattle are still a long way away from being ready for market. So for now, we're continuing to feed them a straight silage diet while they keep growing and putting on weight. Now it's time to reconfigure our tractors once again and put them back to work. While we've been hauling silage, the feed mixer has already produced a substantial amount of custom feed. So we'll start hauling that over to feedlot number 1, where our oldest group of cattle is housed. These are the cattle we're preparing to sell in the next few months, so I want to make sure they have all the feed they need as we head into the final stretch before sale day. Once we get their feed bunks completely topped off, all 2,000 head of cattle on the farm should be in excellent shape and well supplied for quite some time. While we've been busy taking care of the cattle, it looks like our fieldwork operation has been making great progress as well. Our Challenger MT867 and New Holland TJ 500 have now completely finished the plowing contract that we started in the last episode. That's great news because it means we're finally ready to cash in the second contract and bring a little more money into the farm account. To get that taken care of, we'll hop into the Chevy Silverado and make the short drive over to the field where the tractors have been working. Once we arrive, I'll collect the payment for the contract and then begin moving both tractors off the field. After that, we'll send them back toward the Mega Bee farm and follow along behind them in the pickup. When we get back to the farm, I want to spend a little time cleaning up some equipment. The plowing contract has put quite a few hours on both tractors and the John Deere 2730 rippers. So we'll get everything washed up, detached, and parked back inside the equipment shed where it'll be ready for the next time we need it. After that, there's still one more important job that needs to be completed before we can call it a day. While I was focusing on feed and silage earlier, I almost forgot about one of the other essentials our cattle need: straw bedding. Both of our feedlots have gone through a significant amount of straw over the past few months, and if we don't keep fresh bedding in the pens, the cattle won't produce manure. Since manure is an important byproduct that we'll eventually be able to utilize and potentially profit from, I want to make sure we're staying on top of the bedding situation as well. To take care of that, we'll fire up the Kenworth T800 once again and get our Demco drop deck trailer attached. From there, we'll head over to the bale storage area where we've got a large stockpile of straw bales waiting for us. I'll begin loading the trailer up with large straw bales, and then we'll make a few trips back and forth between the storage area and our feedlots. The goal is to completely refill both cattle pens with fresh bedding so that every aspect of our cattle operation is fully stocked and ready to go. I'd say we had a pretty productive day here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. We started the day by heading back out to our plowing contract and getting our Challenger MT867 and New Holland TJ 500 back to work. It didn't take too much longer before we had that field completely ripped and ready to go, and once we cashed in the contract, it brought in another nice chunk of money for the farm. It may not be as exciting as selling cattle or grain, but those contracts have really helped keep us going over the past few months while we've been waiting for our livestock operation to mature. After getting the contract wrapped up, we turned our attention back toward what has become the most important part of this entire farm, our 2,000 head of beef cattle. We spent a large portion of today making sure our feeding operation was fully stocked back up. We hauled corn out of our grain bins, made a trip into town for mineral feed, and then moved a massive amount of silage out of our bunker so we could get our feed mixer completely topped off. By the end of the day, the mixer was producing thousands upon thousands of liters of our custom feed ration, and we've now got a healthy stockpile built up once again. On top of that, we managed to get both groups of cattle fully fed. Our oldest group of cattle now has plenty of custom feed available as they continue working their way toward market weight, while a younger group has also been topped back up with silage. We even managed to get both feedlots restocked with fresh straw bedding before calling it a day. So overall, I'd say our cattle operation is in really good shape right now. The timing of all this is important because we're now getting very close to a major milestone for this series. Our oldest group of beef cattle is continuing to gain weight and mature, and with every passing month, we're getting closer to our first major cattle sale. We've invested a tremendous amount of time, money, and feed into these animals, and before too much longer, we'll finally get to see whether all of that hard work pays off. That's honestly one of the things I'm looking forward to most. We've spent so much time building this cattle operation from the ground up, harvesting feed, expanding our infrastructure, and taking care of these animals, and soon we'll finally get to see the financial side of it when those cattle head to market. Next episode, we'll continue pushing forward through year 2, and we'll check back in on the cattle once again to see how they're progressing. We'll also start preparing for some of our upcoming fieldwork operations as we continue getting closer and closer to harvest season. There's still plenty of work to do around the farm, but at least for now, all of our cattle are fed, bedded, and well taken care of. As always, thank you all so much for watching and supporting the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm series. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Welcome back to episode 34 of the Reading, Minnesota 4X Mega Beef Farm. In today's episode, we'll be reaching a major milestone here on the farm as we prepare to sell off our first group of beef cattle and begin bringing in thousands of new calves to continue expanding our operation. Over the past few episodes, we've been busy preparing for this moment. Earlier this year, we completed our first cut of alfalfa and brought in just under 2.5 million liters after harvesting more than 120 acres. With our new Challenger SP 165 swathers and our fleet of John Deere forage harvesters, we managed to replenish our feed supply and ensure we'd have plenty of feed available for our growing beef operation. In the last episode, we shifted our focus away from harvesting and spent the day taking care of our cattle and improving our feed production system. We started off by wrapping up a large plowing contract that had been helping keep money flowing into the farm while we waited for our cattle to mature. After cashing in that contract, we returned to the Mega Beef Farm and got to work making sure all 2,000 head of cattle were properly fed and cared for. We spent a large portion of the episode replenishing the ingredients needed for our custom feed ration. Corn was hauled from our grain bins, mineral feed was purchased and delivered from town, and multiple trailer loads of silage were moved from our bunkers into our feed mixer. Once everything was delivered, our mixer got back to work producing thousands of liters of custom feed, which was then hauled over to our oldest group of beef cattle. While we were taking care of our oldest cattle, we also spent time delivering silage to our younger herd and making sure both feedlots were fully stocked with feed. To finish off the episode, we delivered multiple loads of straw bedding to both cattle pens, so our animals would remain comfortable and continue producing manure over the coming months. By the end of the day, all 2,000 head of cattle were fully fed, bedded, and well taken care of. More importantly, our oldest group of 1,000 beef cattle were finally approaching market weight and getting very close to being ready for sale. Since then, I've now advanced time into August, which means our oldest cattle have now reached 15 months old, and it's finally time to sell off our first herd of beef cattle. To kick things off today, we'll be hopping into the Chevy Silverado and making our way down to the feedlot so we can check in on our cattle and get prepared for what should be one of the biggest milestones we've reached so far in this entire series. Last episode, we spent a tremendous amount of time making sure all 2,000 head of cattle were fully fed, bedded, and taken care of as we got them prepared for the next stage of their lives. Since then, I've advanced time by roughly 2 months. We really didn't have a lot of field work that needed to be completed during that time, and thankfully our cattle had plenty of feed available. So I figure it was the perfect opportunity to fast forward and get us closer to our first major cattle sale. Now that we've made it to August of year 2, the moment we've been working towards since the very beginning of this series has finally arrived. The first 1,000 beef cattle that we purchased back in episode 1 have now reached 15 months of age and are officially ready to be sold. We spent the last 15 months feeding them, caring for them, and investing money into them. So today we're finally going to find out if all of that hard work was worth it. By the end of the day, we should have our first major cattle payday and hopefully bring in a substantial amount of profit for the Mega Beef farm. The first job on the list will be getting our livestock hauling operation underway. I'll head over to the equipment sheds and fire up our Kenworth T800 semi-truck before attaching one of our Wilson Silver Star livestock trailers. Once everything is hooked up, we'll make our way down to the feedlot and begin loading our first group of cattle. Each of these livestock trailers can hold 250 head of cattle, and since we currently own 2 trailers, we'll be able to move 500 cattle at a time. That means it'll take 4 full trailer loads to get all 1,000 of our finished cattle hauled over to the livestock dealer. After loading the first trailer, I'll put the Kenworth on auto drive and let a hired worker begin the long trip across the map to the livestock dealer. While that truck is on the road, I'll head back to the yard and fire up our Peterbilt 362, hook up the second Wilson livestock trailer, and load another 250 cattle. Once both trailers are loaded, we'll have 500 cattle heading to market at the same time, which should speed things up considerably. However, we're not just selling cattle today, we're also expanding. Every time we make a trip to the livestock dealer, we'll be returning home with calves. Once we unload and sell the first groups of finished cattle, we'll immediately begin loading up brand new calves to bring back to the farm. By the end of the episode, we'll have sold all 1,000 of our oldest cattle, but we'll also be bringing in 2,000 new calves to replace them. That means even though we're selling cattle today, we'll actually finish the episode with 3,000 head of cattle on the farm, giving us 1,000 more animals than we started the day with. As all of these new calves arrive, we'll also need to make sure they have plenty of feed available. I'll be pulling a few of our Meyer Silage Boss trailers back out of the sheds and getting some tractors fired up so we can haul additional silage over to the cattle pens. Thankfully, these younger calves won't consume nearly as much feed as our older cattle did, so we won't have to spend quite as much time feeding them. My goal is simply to make sure all of the feedlots are well stocked and ready to carry these new calves through the rest of August while we shift our focus toward harvest season. Once all 1,000 cattle have been sold, all 2,000 calves have arrived, and the feedlots are topped back up, we'll start preparing for our next major task. Surrounding the Mega Beef farm is a massive 200-acre wheat field, which has now fully matured and is ready to harvest. Before we wrap up today's episode, I'll be pulling our 2-case IH9240 combines out of storage, attaching the draper headers, and getting everything prepared for harvest. We'll begin opening up the headlands and getting the operation organized, so we're ready to dive headfirst into what should be a massive wheat harvest in the next episode. We've got a huge day ahead of us as we make our first cattle sale, expand the farm with another 2,000 calves, and begin preparing for harvest season. Let's fire up the engines and get to work. If you're looking forward to this new mega farm series on Redding, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Well, we've now managed to get the first 2 trailer loads of cattle sold off over the livestock dealer, and I'd say things are going very well so far. Between those 2 loads, we sold a total of 500 of our 15-month-old beef cattle, and that first group alone brought in just under $1 million in revenue for the Mega Beef farm. As soon as those cattle were sold, I turned right around and started reinvesting some of that money back into the operation. We purchased another 500 calves and loaded 250 calves into each of our 2 Wilson livestock trailers, so we could begin bringing in the next generation of cattle. Purchasing those 500 calves cost us roughly $150,000, which means we're still sitting on some very healthy profit margins from this first round of cattle sales. Honestly, I probably could have held on to these cattle for a few more months and squeeze a little more value out of them. But our bank account was starting to get pretty low, and I felt like now was the right time to cash in on some of the value we've built up over the last 15 months. We've invested a lot of feed, time, and money into raising these cattle, and it's pretty exciting to finally see all of that hard work starting to pay off. Now we'll head back to the Mega Beef farm and get these 500 calves unloaded into one of our freshly cleaned feedlot pens. Once they're settled in, we'll make our way over to the pen holding the remaining 500 head of our oldest cattle, get them loaded up into the trailers, and make another trip across the map to the livestock dealer so we can finish selling off the rest of our first herd. We've now officially sold off all 1,000 of our original 15-month-old beef cattle, and I'd say this first cattle sale has been a huge success. After all of the trips back and forth to the livestock dealer, our bank account is now sitting at just under $1,800,000. We have already spent roughly $300,000 purchasing 1,000 replacement calves. But even after accounting for those expenses, it looks like we ended up bringing in right around $2 million from selling our first group of cattle. It's pretty incredible to finally see the results of all the work we've put into this operation over the last 15 months. Since the beginning of the series, we've spent countless hours harvesting feed, hauling silage, mixing rations, and taking care of these cattle. So it's nice to finally have a big payday that proves the system is working exactly the way we hoped it would. Now we'll start making our way back over to the Mega Beef farm so we can get these latest calves unloaded. Once we arrive, I'll unload all 500 of them into the same pen where we placed the first group of calves earlier today. After that, we'll officially have 1,000 brand new calves on the farm, and one of our feedlot pens will once again be completely stocked with cattle. However, we're not stopping there. The whole goal of today's episode is not only to sell off our first herd, but also to continue growing the operation. So once these calves are unloaded, I'll be investing another $300,000 and purchasing one final group of 1,000 calves. To make things a little more efficient this time around, I'll get both of our semi-trucks set up on auto drive and let our hired workers handle the long trip back to the livestock dealer. While they're on the road, I'll turn my attention back to the farm because bringing in another 1,000 calves means we're about to have 3,000 head of cattle spread across our feedlots. That's a lot of mouths to feed, so we need to make sure we stay ahead of things and get plenty of feed delivered before these new calves arrive. To do that, I'll head over to the equipment shed and fire up a couple of our tractors before attaching the Meyer Silage Boss trailers. We'll get both tractors moved over to the silage bunkers and begin hauling silage out to all 3 of our feedlot pens. Since we're now utilizing some new pens for the first time, I'll also need to spend a bit of time creating new auto drive routes so the tractors can automatically deliver feed wherever it's needed around the farm. While all of that is happening, our trucks should be making their way across the map to the livestock dealer. Once they arrive, I'll jump over there, purchase the final group of calves, and get both trucks loaded up so they can begin hauling another 500 calves back to the farm. Then, while those trucks are making the return trip, I'll hop into our John Deere 544K wheel loader and begin loading silage into the trailers so our tractors can start topping off the feed troughs. By the end of the day, we should have all 3,000 cattle settled into their pens, plenty of feed delivered, and the next generation of beef cattle well on their way to becoming another major payday for the Mega Beef farm. Well, that's another successful trip completed, and both of our livestock trailers have now made it back to the Mega Bee farm with another 500 calves. We've got them all unloaded into the feedlot pens, and at this point our operation is really starting to grow. Between the older cattle that were already on the farm and all of the new calves we've brought in throughout today's episode, we now have a total of 2,500 head of cattle here on the Mega Bee farm. It's pretty impressive to see how quickly things have expanded. We started the day selling off our very first group of finished cattle, and now we're already well on our way to building an even larger herd for the future. The best part is we're not quite finished yet. Our trucks are going to make one final round trip over to the livestock dealer to pick up the last 500 calves for the day, and once they return, we'll officially reach our goal of having 3,000 cattle on the farm. While the trucks are on the road, we're not going to waste any time sitting around waiting for them. Bringing in this many new animals means we need to stay ahead on feed, so we'll continue working on getting all 3 of our feedlot pens fully stocked up with silage. I'll spend some more time in the John Deere 544K loader loading trailers while our tractors keep hauling feed back and forth between the silage bunkers and the cattle pens. By the time those trucks return with the final load of calves, I'd like to have all 3 feedlots topped off and ready to support our growing herd. That way, once the last 500 calves arrive, we'll have 3,000 cattle settled into their pens with plenty of feed available as we begin preparing for the busy harvest season that's just around the corner. Our final load of calves has now arrived back at the Mega Beef farm, and we've got them all unloaded into the feedlot pens. That officially wraps up our cattle hauling operation for the day, and I'd say it was a very successful one. We started the episode by selling off our first 1,000 finished beef cattle, and now we've completely restocked and expanded the operation with 2,000 brand new calves. At this point, we now have 2,000 calves and another 1,000 cattle that are around 10 months old, giving us a grand total of 3,000 head of cattle currently on the Mega Beef farm. That's a huge jump from where we started the series and puts us one step closer to our long-term goal of eventually building this into a 5,000 head beef operation. It's pretty exciting to see the feedlots filling up and the farm continuing to grow every time we sell a group of cattle. Now that all of the livestock have been unloaded and settled into their pens, it's time to finish taking care of a few things before we start shifting our attention toward harvest season. I'll begin by parking both of our Wilson Silver Star livestock trailers back in the equipment shed, since we won't be needing them again for quite a while. After that, I'll jump back into the Kenworth T800 and make the short drive down to the feedlot where we'll swap trailers and get our Demco drop deck attached. Once the drop deck is hooked up, we'll head over to our bale storage area and begin loading up some of our large square straw bales. With all 3 feedlot pens now occupied, we're going to need quite a bit of bedding to keep everything stocked up. I'll haul multiple loads of straw over to the feedlots and get all 3 pens topped back up so our cattle remain comfortable and continue producing manure, which will be an important resource for us moving forward. After the straw is taken care of, we'll turn our attention back to feed one final time. I'll hop into the John Deere 544K wheel loader and spend a little more time loading silage into the Meyer Silage Boss trailers. Our tractors have already delivered a tremendous amount of feed today, but I'd like to get each of the 3 feedlot pens stocked back up to around 200,000 liters of silage before we call it a day. That should leave us with plenty of feed available to keep all 3,000 cattle well supplied over the coming months while we begin focusing more of our time on field work. With the cattle operation now running smoothly and the feedlots fully stocked, we'll be in a great position to start preparing for the upcoming wheat harvest and all of the work that's about to come with it. Well, I think we're just about to the point where we can call the feeding operation complete. After we get this final trailer of silage loaded up and delivered, All 3 of our feedlot pens should have plenty of feed available to keep our 3,000 head of cattle happy for quite some time. We spent most of the day expanding the herd and making sure all of the cattle are well taken care of. So now it's finally time to start turning our attention toward the next major task on the farm. Once this last load of silage is delivered, I'll park the John Deere 544K, we'll load her, and get both of our tractors staged over here near the silage bunker. That way, if we need to bring in more feed during the upcoming wheat harvest, everything will already be in position and ready to go. From there, I'll hop into the Kenworth T800 and drop off the Demco drop deck trailer before heading over to the equipment shed to pick up our Wilson grain trailer. Once the truck is ready, we'll get it parked alongside the wheat field so it's ready to begin hauling grain as soon as harvest gets underway. After that, it's finally time to start preparing the harvesting fleet. I'll jump into the Chevy Silverado and pull both of our Draper headers out of the shed before staging them on the edge of the field. Then we'll fire up our 2-case IH9240 combines, bring them over to the field, and get the headers attached. Once both combines are ready to go, we'll begin opening up the field, and I'll start setting up our course play courses so everything is ready for harvest. Before we get started, I'll make one final trip back to the farm to grab our John Deere 8345R and one of our NMX 1112 auger wagons. Then it'll be time to head back out to the field and officially begin opening up the headlands of this massive 200-acre wheat field as we start preparing for harvest season. I'd say today was a pretty major milestone for the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. After over 15 months of raising cattle, feeding them, and investing money into them, we finally sold off our very first group of 1,000 beef cattle. It's something we've been working toward ever since the start of this series, and I'd say it paid off in a big way. Between all 1,000 cattle, we managed to bring in right around $2 million in revenue, which is a huge boost for our farm and really proves that our cattle operation is working exactly the way we hoped it would. But we didn't stop there. Rather than letting those feedlots sit empty, we immediately reinvested some of that money back into the farm by purchasing another 2,000 calves. By the end of the day, we've grown from 2,000 head of cattle all the way up to 3,000 head of cattle, putting us one step closer to our long-term goal of eventually reaching 5,000 cattle here on the Mega Beef farm. We also spent quite a bit of time making sure all of our cattle were well taken care of. We hauled a lot of silage today, got all 3 of our feedlot pens stocked back up with feed, and delivered fresh straw bedding, so our cattle will continue producing manure while they grow. At this point, everything is looking really good, and our cattle operation should be in great shape moving forward. To finish off the day, we finally started shifting our focus back toward the crop side of the farm. Our 2-case IH9240 combines are now out in the field and have officially started opening up the headlands on our 200-acre wheat field. This is the first harvest of year 2, and it should be a very important one, as we'll need plenty of grain and straw to continue supporting our rapidly growing cattle operation. Next episode, we'll be diving headfirst into this wheat harvest. We'll get both combines fully set up on courseplay, bring out the grain cart and semi-trucks, and work toward getting this entire 200-acre field harvested. With 3,000 cattle now on the farm and harvest season officially underway, things are about to get very busy here in Reading, Minnesota. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know down in the comments what you think about our first cattle sale and the expansion to 3,000 head of cattle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Welcome back to episode 35 of the Reading, Minnesota 4X Mega Beef Farm. In the last episode, we reached one of the biggest milestones of the entire series, so far as we finally sold our first group of finished beef cattle. After spending years expanding the operation, producing feed, and growing our herd, it was finally time to cash in on all of that hard work. Throughout the episode, we loaded up truck after truck with cattle and began hauling them off to market. By the time all of the cattle were sold, we had moved a total of 1,000 head of beef cattle out of the feedlots and brought in an incredible payday of nearly $2 million. It was by far one of the biggest sales we've had in this series, and it gave us a major boost as we continue working toward our goal of building a 5,000 head mega beef operation. While the cattle sale was the main focus, it also opened up a huge amount of space inside our feedlots. For the first time in quite a while, we now have room to begin bringing in more cattle and continue growing the herd even larger. We also added a significant amount of money to the farm account, which gives us more opportunities for future expansions and upgrades around the farm. By the end of the episode, the sale was complete, the trucks were unloaded, and our operation was in a great position moving forward. Now it's time to get back to work as we continue expanding one of the largest beef farms we've ever built in Farming Simulator 25. To kick things off today, we're going to be jumping right back into our very first wheat harvest here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. I'll start things off by climbing into our John Deere 8345, which is currently pulling one of our J&M Extended Reach 1112 auger wagons, so we can catch back up to our combines and keep this harvest moving. At the end of the last episode, we finally wrapped up one of the biggest cattle sales we've had so far in this series. We sold off our first group of finished cattle, brought in nearly $2 million, and then immediately turned around and reinvested into the future of this operation by bringing in 2,000 brand new calves. Once all of the cattle hauling was complete, it was time to shift our attention away from the feedlots and start focusing on crop production as we began preparing for our first ever wheat harvest here on the Mega Beef Farm. To get things underway, I brought out our 2-case IH9240 combines and got the draper headers attached before making the trip out to this massive 200-acre wheat field that surrounds a large portion of our farm. Once we arrived, I got both combines fired up and began opening up the field by clearing out some of the headlands. After that, I generated a coarse blade course that would allow both combines to work side by side and harvest this entire field as efficiently as possible. We ended the last episode just as both combines were beginning to work their way around the headlands, and today we're picking things up right where we left off. At the moment, both combines are still focused on opening up the outer edges of the field and creating enough room for the rest of our harvest fleet to move into position. Once we get a little more of the field harvested, we'll be able to fully transition into harvest mode and start bringing more equipment out here. Right now, we only have one auger wagon and one semi-truck supporting the combines, but that's about to change. As the combines continue making their way around the field, I'll be keeping them unloaded with the John Deere 8345, or while also watching for opportunities to bring more equipment into the operation. Once enough of the north side of the field has been harvested, I'll head over to our Wilson grain trailer and begin transferring wheat from the auger wagon into the truck. After the truck is loaded, I'll personally haul the first load back to the Mega Beef farm, where I'll finish setting up a series of auto drive routes that will allow our trucks to automatically transport wheat from the field back to our grain silos. Once the first truck is running properly, I'll head back to the equipment shed and fire up our Volvo WIA semi-truck. I'll get the Jetco hopper bottom trailer attached and then send that truck out to the field as well so we can begin increasing the amount of grain we're able to move off the field. After that, I'll bring out our second auger wagon, which is attached to our John Deere 8400R. Once the tractor arrives, I'll get it configured with auto drive so it can begin helping with unloading duties and keeping both combines moving without interruption. My goal is to eventually have both auger wagons continuously cycling between the combines and the trucks while our semi-trucks automatically haul grain back to the farm. If everything works the way I'm hoping, we should be able to create a very efficient harvesting system that keeps the combines running almost non-stop throughout the day. This harvest is also incredibly important for the future of our beef operation. While the wheat itself is going to provide us with another source of income later in the year when prices peak, the grain isn't actually the main reason we're harvesting this crop. The real value for our operation is going to come from the straw. To start the harvest, I left the straw swaths disabled because I didn't want straw piling up where our trucks and auger wagons are trying to maneuver around the field edge. Once the combines get farther into the field and past our unloading area, I'll reactivate the straw swaths, and from that point forward, both combines will begin leaving massive windrows of straw behind them. When the wheat harvest is complete, we'll then bring in our Heston square baler and begin baling every bit of straw we can from this 200-acre field. Those straw bales will eventually be hauled back to the Mega Beef farm, where they'll be added to our growing feed and bedding stockpiles. With thousands of cattle now spread across our feedlots, we're going to need a tremendous amount of bedding moving forward, and this wheat crop is going to play a major role in helping us support the continued growth of our operation. We've got a huge day ahead of us as we continue our first ever wheat harvest, expand our grain hauling operation, and begin producing the straw that will help support our growing herd of cattle. So let's fire up the equipment, get these combines rolling, and get back to work on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. If you're looking forward to this new Mega Farm series on Reading, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Well, we've now got the entire harvesting fleet fully established out here in the field, and I'd have to say everything seems to be coming together very nicely. Both of our semi-trucks are now staged in the loading area on the north side of the field, waiting to receive wheat from the auger wagons. And I've also finished setting up our John Deere 8400 are on auto drive. That means we now have both auger wagons actively supporting the harvest and working together to keep our two-case IH9240 combines moving through the field as efficiently as possible. One of the biggest goals for today's harvest was getting all of the supporting equipment in place and creating a smooth grain handling system. And now that everything is finally up and running, we should be able to focus entirely on harvesting wheat. The combines can continue working uninterrupted while the auger wagons shuttle grain back and forth to the trucks. And the trucks can then haul those loads back to the Mega Beef farm, where we'll continue building up our grain stockpile. I've also gone ahead and re-enabled the straw swaths on both combines. Earlier in the harvest, I had them disabled while we worked around the field edge and got all of our equipment positioned. But now that everything is organized and running smoothly, we can start collecting one of the most valuable byproducts of this entire harvest. From this point forward, both combines will be leaving large windrows of straw behind them as they work their way across the field. That straw is going to play a huge role in supporting our beef operation moving forward. Once the wheat harvest is complete, we'll be bringing in our Heston square baler to begin baling all of these windrows. With a 200-acre wheat field, we should end up producing hundreds of straw bales that can eventually be hauled back to the Mega Beef farm and added to our growing stockpile. With over 3,000 head of cattle now spread across our feedlots, having a large supply of bedding on hand is going to be incredibly important, and this harvest should provide us with a substantial amount of straw for the future. Now that the combines are harvesting, the auger wagons are running, and the trucks are hauling grain back to the farm, it's finally time to settle in and see what this operation is capable of. Let's get back to work. Keep these combines unloaded and see just how much of this massive 200-acre wheat field we can get harvested today. Well, at this point, our two-case IH9240 combines have officially completed a full lap around this entire 200-acre wheat field, and all of the headlands are now completely harvested. That marks a pretty important milestone in this harvest, because from here on out, we can finally move into the long up and down passes where everything tends to run much more efficiently. Honestly, I'm really happy with how smoothly the operation has been running so far. The headlands are usually where we encounter most of our problems, especially with our second auger wagon running on auto drive. In the past, the hired worker has often struggled to track down the combines while they're constantly changing directions around the field edges, and that can sometimes create a bit of chaos. We did have one small hiccup today when the John Deere 8400R got a little confused and wandered in the tree line for a minute, but other than that, everything has worked surprisingly well. Both auger wagons have been keeping up, the trucks are hauling grain back to the farm, and the combines have been harvesting almost non-stop. Now that we're moving into the main body of the field, I expect things to run even better. The combines won't be turning nearly as often, and the auto drive workers should have a much easier time predicting where they need to be and keeping the grain carts in position. One thing that's helping tremendously is the course play setup we're using for this field. Both combines are currently running a land-style harvesting course, and I've found that this method works extremely well when you're trying to manage combines with auger wagons. Instead of simply working back and forth across the field, the combines start by making a pass through the center and then alternate between the left and right sides as they continue harvesting. What this does is keep the lead combine positioned in a way that almost always leaves its unloading auger facing toward harvested ground. That's a huge advantage because it means our auger wagons rarely have to drive through standing wheat to reach the combine. Instead, they can stay on harvested ground, safely pull alongside the combine, and unload it without disturbing any of the crop. On a field this large, little efficiencies like that can save a lot of time over the course of the harvest. With the headlands finished, the equipment running smoothly, and both combines now diving into the heart of the field, this is where we should really start covering some acres. We've still got a lot of wheat left standing out here, but if everything continues running the way it has so far, we should be able to make some excellent progress and bring a massive amount of grain back to the Mega Bee farm before the day is over. Well, everything seems to be running incredibly smoothly for our very first wheat harvest here on the Mega Beef farm. And honestly, I couldn't be much happier with how this operation is performing. After spending so much time building up our cattle operation, producing feed, and expanding the farm, it's really rewarding to finally see our crop production side of the farm starting to come together as well. So far, we've made some excellent progress on this 200-acre wheat field. The headlands are completely harvested. Both combines are now well into the up and down passes, and all of the supporting equipment seems to be working exactly as intended. Our auger wagons are keeping the combines unloaded. The trucks are continuously hauling grain back to the farm, and we haven't run into any major issues since getting everything established in the field. One thing that's really standing out to me so far is just how good the yields have been. At this point, we've already harvested around 300,000 liters of wheat and hauled it back to the Mega Beef farm, and we're still only in the early stages of this harvest. If these yields continue throughout the rest of the field, we should end up with a very respectable amount of wheat by the time this harvest is finished. That grain will eventually be sold during the winter months when prices are at their highest, which should give us another nice payday to help support the continued growth of our beef operation. But while the wheat itself is great to have, I think I'm almost more excited about the straw. As I look across the field now, there are already massive windrows of straw piling up behind both combines. We've only harvested a portion of the field so far, and there's already a tremendous amount of straw laying on the ground waiting to be baled. Once we finish harvesting this field, we'll be bringing in our Heston square baler, and I have a feeling we're going to end up producing hundreds of straw bales from this harvest alone. Those straw bales are going to be a huge asset for the farm moving forward, as they'll allow us to keep all of our feedlot pens stocked up with bedding and continue producing manure from our growing herd cattle. With 3,000 head of cattle now living on the farm, having a large supply of straw available is becoming more important than ever. For now, though, we've still got plenty of wheat left standing in this field and a lot more acres to cover before the day is over. Let's get back to work, keep these combines unloaded, and see just how much more wheat and straw we can produce during our first ever wheat harvest here on the Redding, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. I'd have to say our first ever wheat harvest here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Bee Farm has been a huge success so far. Coming into today's episode, one wasn't exactly sure how smoothly everything was going to run once we started bringing more equipment out into the field, but honestly the entire operation has worked very well. Both of our case IH9240 combines have been harvesting almost non-stop. Our 2J and M extended reach 1112 auger wagons have done a great job keeping the combines unloaded, and our semi-trucks have been steadily hauling wheat back to the farm throughout the day. One of the biggest accomplishments from today's episode was getting our entire harvest fleet fully established and running efficiently. We now have all of our grain handling equipment working together, and because of that we've been able to make some really solid progress through this massive 200-acre wheat field. By the end of today's episode, we're now just over halfway finished harvesting the field, and we've already managed to haul roughly 600,000 liters of wheat back to the Mega Bee Farm, where it's safely stored inside our grain silos. The wheat itself is looking fantastic, but I'm also really excited about the amount of straw we're producing. As I look out across the field, there's already a massive amount of straw laying behind the combines, and once this harvest is complete, we'll be able to bring in our Heston Square baler and begin turning all of that straw into bales. With 3,000 head of cattle now living on this farm, having a large stockpile of straw for bedding is going to be incredibly important, and this harvest should provide us with a huge amount of it. Looking ahead to the next episode, the goal is pretty straightforward. We're going to continue pushing hard to get the remainder of this 200-acre wheat field harvested and hopefully get our first wheat harvest completely wrapped up. Once the combines are finished, we'll then be able to transition into baling and hauling all of the straw back to the Mega Bee Farm, so we can begin building up our bedding supplies for the cattle. We've still got a lot of wheat standing in the field, a lot more grain to haul back to the farm, and a huge amount of straw waiting to be baled, so there's plenty of work left to do. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know down in the comments how much wheat you think we'll end up harvesting from this 200-acre field by the time the combines are finished. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Welcome back to episode 36 of the Reading, Minnesota Mega Bee Farm. If you caught the last episode, then you may remember that we continued our very first wheat harvest here on the Mega Bee Farm. After getting our entire harvesting fleet up and running, everything finally started working together really well as our two-case IH9240 combines harvested side by side, while our auger wagons and semi-trucks kept the grain moving back to the farm. Throughout the episode, we made some fantastic progress across our massive 200-acre wheat field. The combines worked their way through well over half of the field, and we were able to haul back an incredible amount of wheat to the Mega Bee Farm. By the end of the episode, we already had around 600,000 liters of wheat safely stored in our grain silos, and with the yields we've been seeing so far, it's shaping up to be one of our best grain harvests yet. One of the biggest reasons we're harvesting this field, though, isn't actually the wheat, it's the massive amount of straw we're producing. As our combines work their way across the field, they left behind huge straw swaths that will soon be baling up and hauling back to the Mega Bee Farm. That straw is going to be incredibly important as we continue expanding toward our goal of raising 5,000 head of beef cattle, giving us plenty of bedding for all of our feedlot pens in the future. By the end of the last episode, everything was running smoothly. We were just over halfway finished harvesting this massive field, and today we're picking things up right where we left off as we continue pushing to wrap up our first wheat harvest here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Bee Farm. To kick things off today, we're going to be hopping into our Chevy Silverado pickup truck and making our way back over to the Mega Bee Farm so we can begin setting up for the next stage of our first wheat harvest. Over the past couple of episodes, we've made some incredible progress harvesting this massive 200-plus acre wheat field. Our two-case IH9240 combines have now managed to harvest well over half of the field, and because of that, we've now got hundreds of acres of straw laying on the ground behind them. Rather than waiting until the entire field is harvested, I've decided it's time to start bringing in our baling equipment so we can begin cleaning up some of those straw swaths while the combines continue working their way through the rest of the field. Every bale of straw we produce from this field is going to be extremely valuable to our operation. As many of you know, our goal here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm is to eventually grow this operation into a 5,000 head beef cattle feedlot. Reaching that goal is going to require an enormous amount of straw to keep all of those cattle bedded throughout the year. So instead of selling the straw for a quick payday, we'll be hauling every single bale back to the Mega Beef Farm and building a massive stockpile that will continue growing as we harvest more cereal crops over the coming years. Once I arrive back at the farm, I'll be firing up our John Deere 8410 tractor for the first time in a little while. From there, I'll head over to our equipment shed, where our Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston large square baler has been waiting patiently since the end of last season. I'll get the baler hooked up behind the John Deere 8410, and then we'll make the short drive back out to our wheat field so we can officially kick off our first straw baling operation of year 2. When we arrive at the field, I'll spend a few minutes getting everything configured properly before we actually begin baling. One of the great things about Courseplay is that I can simply copy the harvesting course directly from one of our combines and transfer it over to the John Deere 8410. That means the baler will follow the exact same path the combines took while harvesting the wheat, ensuring that every single straw swath is picked up without missing anything. Once the course has been copied over, I'll get the baler fired up and bale the first few windrows myself just to make sure everything is working correctly. After I'm confident the setup is running smoothly, I'll hand the tractor over to a hired worker and let it continue baling while I jump back into the harvesting operation. At that point, it'll be time to rejoin our 2-case IH9240 combines that have been hard at work harvesting while we've been getting the baler ready. Both combines are once again running side by side on Courseplay, and I'll be taking over our John Deere 8400R that's pulling one of our J&M Extended Reach 1112 auger wagons. Our second auger wagon, which is being pulled by the John Deere 8345R, will continue running on auto drive as a hired worker. Together, the two grain carts should have no problem keeping both combines unloaded, so they can continue harvesting this massive wheat field without having to stop. Waiting for us on the field edge are our two semi-trucks that have been constantly hauling grain back to the Mega Beef Farm. Our Kenworth W900 is pulling the Wilson hopper trailer, while our Volvo WIA is paired with the Jetco hopper bottom trailer. Both trucks are parked in the unloading area where I've created an auto drive route that allows our auger wagons to automatically pull alongside each truck, unload their wheat, and then immediately head back into the field to service the combines. Once the trucks are full, they'll make the trip back to the Mega Beef Farm, unload into the grain silos, and then return to the field to repeat the entire process. It's a system that's been working incredibly well and has allowed us to keep grain moving off the field almost non-stop. The main goal for today is to finish harvesting the remainder of this massive 200-plus acre wheat field, while also getting a strong start on baling all of the straw that's being left behind. If everything continues running as smoothly as it has been, I think there's a very good chance we'll not only finish the wheat harvest, but also get the majority of the straw baled before the day is over. Once this field is finally complete, we'll pack up our entire harvesting fleet and make the short move down the road to our next crop of the season, a 100-acre oat field located just across from the local co-op. If we have enough time before today's episode comes to an end, I'd like to get all of our combines, auger wagons, and semi-trucks moved over there, open up the headlands, and begin setting up all of our Courseplay and auto drive routes, so we're ready to jump straight into harvesting oats in the next episode. We've got another busy day ahead of us as we continue one of the biggest harvests we've ever tackled on the Mega Beef Farm, build up a massive stockpile of straw for our future 5,000 head feedlot, and prepare our harvesting fleet for the next crop. So let's fire up the engines and get to work. If you're looking forward to this new Mega Farm series on Reading, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Everything seems to be running just about as smoothly as I could have hoped for today. We've now got both our harvesting and straw baling operations running side by side inside the same field, and it's really satisfying to see the entire operation working together without many issues. Our 2-case IH9240 combines continue working their way across the field on courseplay, while our 2J and M extended reach 1112 auger wagons are doing an excellent job keeping the combines unloaded. Every load of wheat is then transferred into our 2 semi-trucks, which continue making trip after trip back to the Mega Beef farm, where all of the grain is being stored inside our silos. Behind the combines, our John Deere 8410 and Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler are slowly working their way through the field as well, turning all of those straw swaths into large square bales that will soon begin hauling back to the farm. It's great to finally be making progress on 2 jobs at once. While we're finishing up the wheat harvest, we're also getting a head start on building up what should become a massive straw stockpile for a future herd of 3,000 beef cattle. Judging by how well everything has been running today, I don't think we're going to have any trouble getting this entire 200-plus acre wheat field wrapped up before the episode comes to an end. If everything continues at this pace, we should even have enough time to pack up our entire harvesting fleet, move everything down the road to our 100-acre oat field, and start opening up the headlands, so we're ready to dive straight into another harvest. Watching everything work together today has also got me thinking about the future of our harvesting fleet. Right now, our 2 combines are doing a fantastic job, especially on fields this size, but we've got some much bigger harvests waiting for us later this year. We've still got a 250-acre soybean field and our brand new 300-acre cornfield that we leased earlier this year. Those 2 fields are going to be a major step up in size, and they're really going to put our current harvesting fleet to the test. If our finances continue improving after these grain harvests, I'm seriously considering expanding the operation before fall arrives. Bringing in a 3rd combine along with another auger wagon would dramatically increase the amount of crop we can harvest each day and should help us get through those much larger fields far more efficiently. For now, though, I think our current fleet is the perfect size for this upcoming 100-acre oat harvest, so I'm not in any rush to make another big purchase. But once soybean and corn harvest season arrives, I have a feeling that 3rd combine could become one of the biggest upgrades we've made to the farm. I'd love to hear what you all think down in the comments. Would you stick with the 2 combines we've got now? Or do you think it's time to expand the harvesting fleet and bring the 3rd machine before the fall harvest season begins? Now, let's get back to work and see if we can finish harvesting this wheat field and move on to the oats before the day is over. Well, we're finally down to the last section of this massive 200-acre wheat field. And after several episodes of harvesting, we're now only a few acres away from wrapping up our very first grain harvest of year 2 here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. It's been great to see this harvesting operation improve with every episode. We started this harvest by working through a few small issues with our equipment and auto drive routes, but now everything is running almost exactly the way I had envisioned. Our combines are harvesting non-stop, the auger wagons are keeping the grain moving, and our semi-trucks have been making constant trips back and forth to the farm all day long. The yield from this field have also been outstanding. At this point, we've officially harvested and hauled back over 1 million liters of wheat, all of which is now safely stored inside the grain silos back at the Mega Beef farm. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this field to produce quite this much grain, so it's been a pleasant surprise to watch the stockpile continue growing with every load we bring home. Even though we've already crossed the 1 million liter milestone, we're not finished just yet. We've still got these final few acres standing, along with quite a bit of wheat that's already been harvested and is currently sitting inside our combines, auger wagons, and semi-trucks waiting to be hauled back to the farm. By the time the very last pass is finished and every trailer has been unloaded into the silos, I think we'll end up pushing our total well beyond where we're sitting now. It's pretty exciting knowing we're only minutes away from completing the first wheat harvest of the year. Once these last passes are finished, we'll fold up the headers, pack up the entire harvesting fleet, and make the short trip down the road to our next field. Waiting for us, there is a 100-acre oat field, where we'll begin setting up our combines, auger wagons, and semi-trucks all over again for the next harvest of the season. But before we can turn our attention to the oats, we've got one final push left here in this wheat field. So let's get these last acres harvested, haul every final load back to the Mega Beef farm, and officially bring our first wheat harvest of year 2 to a close. Well, it looks like we've officially reached the final passes of this massive 200-acre wheat field. After several episodes of harvesting, we're finally just minutes away from wrapping up our first grain harvest of year 2 here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. It's always satisfying reaching this point in a harvest because it means all of the planning, field preparation, and long hours we put into this crop are finally about to pay off. I'll let both of our Case IH9240 combines finish harvesting these final few passes, and then we'll get them both unloaded one last time. Once the grain tanks are empty, I'll fold both combines up and get them out onto the road so they can begin making the short drive down to our next harvest. While the combines are heading over there, I'll finish unloading any wheat that's still sitting inside our 2JMM extended reach 1112 auger wagons into the semi-trailers. From there, our Kenworth W900 and Volvo WI will make the final trips back to the Mega Beef Farm, so every last liter of wheat from this field is safely stored inside the grain silos. I'm really looking forward to seeing what our final total comes to once every combine, auger wagon, and semi-truck has been completely emptied. With the wheat harvest officially behind us, it'll be time to start transitioning the entire harvesting operation over to our next crop. I'll begin by reconfiguring both semi-trucks, so instead of returning to this wheat field, they'll head directly to our 100-acre oat field. One of our auger wagons will be sent over there on auto drive, while I'll drive the second one myself, so we can get all of our support equipment into position as quickly as possible. Once we arrive at the oat field, I'll unfold both of our Case IH9240 combines and generate a brand new coarse play course so they can immediately begin opening up the headlands. While the combines get started, I'll jump into one of our auger wagons and keep them unloaded so they can continue harvesting without interruption. After they've cleared enough room around the outside of the field, I'll take a short break from unloading grain and begin creating a completely new set of auto drive routes for our auger wagons and semi-trucks. I'll be setting everything up exactly like we had it in the wheat field, so the combines, auger wagons, and trucks can all work together as efficiently as possible right from the start. It's always a bit of work moving an entire harvesting fleet from one field to the next, but getting everything organized now will make the rest of the oat harvest run much more smoothly. Once all of the new coarse play and auto drive routes are finished, we'll officially kick off our oat harvest and see just how much grain we can bring in from the next field here on the Mega Beef Farm. Well, we've now got our entire harvesting fleet moved over to our next field, and I'd have to say the transition went very smoothly. Both of our Case IH9240 combines are now set up on their brand new course blade courses and have officially begun harvesting our 100-acre oat field. Right now, they're working their way around the headlands, opening up the outside of the field before we eventually move into the up and down passes. I've also finished creating all of the new auto drive routes for our auger wagons and semi-trucks. So just like over in the wheat field, our entire harvesting operation is now fully configured and running once again. It's always a bit of work moving an operation like this. Every time we switch fields, the combines need new course blade courses, the auger wagons need new unloading routes, and the semi-trucks need new destinations. But by taking the time to get everything set up properly from the very beginning, it makes the rest of the harvest run much more efficiently and allows us to spend more time harvesting and less time fixing problems. As we make our way back over to the combines to get them unloaded, let's take a quick look at just how much wheat we managed to harvest from that massive 200-acre field. Now that every last semi-truck has returned to the Mega B farm and unloaded into the grain silos, our final total comes in at an incredible 1,325,000 liters of wheat. I'd have to say I'm extremely happy with that result. Not only are we going to have a tremendous amount of grain to sell during the winter months when prices peak, but that harvest also puts us one step closer to expanding this operation even further. With the larger soybean and corn harvest still ahead of us later this year, it's going to be exciting to watch those grain stockpiles continue growing. Of course, the wheat itself was only half of the reason we planted that field. The other major benefit is all of the straw it produced. While we've been busy moving the harvesting fleet over here, our hired worker has continued working away back in the wheat field with the Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler, turning those massive straw swaths into large square bales. I'm expecting we'll end up with hundreds of straw bales once that field is completely finished, and that's going to make a huge difference as we continue building up the bedding supply for our goal of raising 3,000 beef cattle. The good news is that our straw production isn't finished yet. Right now, both combines have their straw swaths disabled while they work around the headlands of this oat field, simply because it makes maneuvering all of the equipment much easier. But as soon as they finish the headlands and begin the long up and down passes through the middle of the field, I'll switch the straw swaths back on. From that point forward, they'll begin leaving another long trail of straw behind them, giving us yet another field full of bales to add to our growing stockpile. With another harvest officially underway and both our grain and straw production continuing to grow, I'd say we're in a great position moving into the rest of the fall harvest season. Now let's get back to work, keep these combines unloaded, and see how much of this 100-acre oat field we can harvest before the end of today's episode. I'd have to say today was another incredibly productive day here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. We officially finished harvesting our massive 200-acre wheat field and brought in an outstanding crop. Once the final truckloads made it back to the Mega Beef Farm, we ended up with an incredible 1,325,000 liters of wheat safely stored inside our grain silos. That's going to set us up for a fantastic payday later this winter when grain prices reach their peak. After wrapping up the wheat harvest, we packed up our entire harvesting fleet and made the move over to our next field of the season. Both of our Case IH9240 combines are now fully set up on courseplay. Our auger wagons and semi-trucks have all been reconfigured with new auto-drive routes, and we've officially kicked off our 100-acre harvest. As this episode comes to an end, we've already got the headlands completely harvested along with several of the up and down passes. We're still sitting under halfway finished with the field, but everything is running extremely smoothly, and we should have no problem wrapping this harvest up in the next episode. While we've been busy harvesting oats, our straw baling operation has also been making fantastic progress back over in the wheat field. Our hired worker has officially finished baling every straw swath left behind by the first combine and has now moved over to begin following the second combine's path. At this point, the baling operation is already about halfway complete, and the numbers are honestly incredible. We've already produced 162 large Heston straw bales, and with each bale holding over 13,000 liters of straw, we've already built up a massive stockpile for our future beef cattle operation. The really exciting part is we're only halfway finished. If these yields continue through the rest of the field, we should end up with well over 300 Heston straw bales by the time the baling operation is complete. That would give us more than 4 million liters of straw, all of which will be hauled back to the Mega Beef Farm and stored away as bedding for our goal of raising 3,000 head of beef cattle. That's an incredible amount of straw from just one field, and it's going to put us in a fantastic position as we continue expanding the farm. Looking ahead to the next episode, our first priority will be finishing up the remaining acres of this 100-acre oat field and getting every last liter hauled back to the grain silos. At the same time, we'll continue working away on the straw baling operation with the goal of finishing every bale from the wheat field before we begin hauling that massive stack of Heston bales back to the Mega Beef Farm. Between the grain we're harvesting and the millions of liters of straw we're producing, this is shaping up to be one of the most productive harvest seasons we've ever had here in Reading, Minnesota. But that's going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know down in the comments. Were you expecting that 200-acre wheat field to produce over 1.3 million liters of wheat and potentially more than 300 large Heston straw bales? Or has this harvest exceeded your expectations too? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 37 of the Reading, Minnesota 4X Mega Beef Farm. In today's episode, we're right back in the middle of our oat harvest as we continue working to get this final field harvested. Last episode, we wrapped up one of the biggest milestones of year 2 as we finally finished harvesting our massive 200-acre wheat field. By the time all of the wheat had been hauled back to the grain silos at the Mega Beef Farm, we harvested over 1,300,000 liters of wheat, giving us another huge stockpile that'll bring in some great profits once prices climb later in the year. After finishing the wheat harvest, we packed up our entire harvesting fleet and moved everything across the road to our next field, where we officially kicked off our 100-acre harvest. We got both of our Case IH9240 combines back up and running on courseplay, created all of our new auto-drive routes for the auger wagons and semi-trucks, and by the end of the episode, we'd harvested all of the headlands and made a great start on the up and down passes. While all of that was going on, our hired worker was also busy back in a wheat field with the Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler, baling up every straw swath left behind by the combines. By the end of the episode, we'd already produced over 160 large Heston bales, each holding more than 13,000 liters of straw, and once the field is completely finished, we'll have well over 4 million liters of straw stockpiled for our future herd of 3,000 beef cattle. Today we'll be jumping right back into the 100-acre oat harvest as we continue harvesting oats, baling straw, and building up even bigger stockpile for the mega beef farm. We've got plenty of work ahead of us, so let's fire up the engines and get to work. To kick things off today, we'll be hopping right back into our John Deere 8345R, which is pulling one of our J&M extended reach 1112 auger wagons, so we can get back out into the field and continue our 100-acre oat harvest. Our entire harvesting operation is already back up and running exactly where we left off in the last episode. Both of our Case IH axial flow 9240 combines are back to work harvesting this field side by side on course play, while our John Deere 8400R, which is pulling our second J&M extended reach 1112 auger wagon, is being run by auto drive to help keep both combines unloaded and harvesting as efficiently as possible. Waiting for us on the field edge are our Kenworth T800 pulling the Wilson grain trailer and our Volvo WIA with the Jetco hopper bottom trailer. These two trucks have been making the long trip back and forth between the field and the mega beef farm, hauling every load of oats back to our grain silos. So far, everything has been running extremely well. And now that all of our course play and auto drive routes are fully dialed in, we should be able to make some excellent progress on this oat harvest today. While all of that's happening over here, we've also got another huge operation running across the road in our 200-acre wheat field. Last episode, we officially wrapped up harvesting that massive field, and immediately afterward, we brought out our John Deere 8410 and Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler to begin baling up every single straw swath that our two combines left behind. Building up a massive straw stockpile is one of our biggest priorities this year because we'll eventually need enough bedding to support 3,000 beef cattle. The more straw we can collect now, the more manure our cattle will produce later on, giving us a huge supply of free fertilizer to spread across our fields in future seasons. Our hired worker has been doing an incredible job over there as well. By using the exact same courseplay course that our combines followed during harvest, the John Deere 8410 has been able to follow directly behind the combine's paths and bale virtually every straw swath without missing much at all. At this point, the worker has already finished baling all of the straw left behind by combine number 1 and has now moved over to the passes harvested by combine number 2. We've already produced nearly 200 large Heston bales, and with each bale holding over 13,000 liters of straw, we've already baled well over 2.5 million liters of straw, and we're only about halfway finished with the field. By the time that wheat field is completely baled, we should have an absolutely massive straw reserve waiting back at the mega beef farm. Once we get this 100-acre oat field harvested, we'll also move the baler over here so we can collect every bit of straw this field produces as well. That means by the end of these two harvests, we'll have produced millions upon millions of liters of straw for our future cattle operation. But today isn't just about harvesting and baling. We're also going to begin collecting all of those large Heston bales and hauling them back to the farm. I'll be heading back to the mega beef farm to fire up a third semi-truck and hook it to our Demco drop deck trailer so we can officially begin transporting bales back to our storage sheds. Before we can do that though, I'd like to make a few improvements around the farmyard and create several new auto drive routes. My goal is to have the truck automatically drive out to the field, load bales using a combination of course play and auto drive, haul them all the way back to the farm, and then reverse itself into our bale storage shed to unload. If everything works the way I'm hoping, we'll have bale collection happening automatically in the background while we continue focusing on the oat harvest. Once the oat harvest is finally complete, we'll get all of our harvesting equipment washed up and parked away before heading back to the dealership to purchase another drop deck trailer. That'll allow us to have two bale hauling trucks working at the same time so we can really start clearing these fields and building up an enormous stockpile of straw for our 3,000 head mega beef farm. We've got a lot to accomplish today as we finish harvesting this 100-acre oat field, bale millions of liters of straw, and officially begin hauling hundreds of large Heston bales back to the farm. Let's fire up the engines and get to work. If you're looking forward to this new mega farm series on Reading, Minnesota 4X map, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've now got our Freightliner FLD 120 hooked up to our Demco drop deck trailer, and I've already made a trip out into the wheat field to load it up with our very first full load of straw bales. Now it's time to head back to the Mega Bee farm because we've got a bit of work to do before we can fully automate this bale hauling operation. The first thing I'd like to do is make a few changes around the farmyard. I'm going to remove a couple of trees near the edge of the wheat field so we can create a brand new entrance and exit that leads directly into our bale storage area. This should give our semi-truck a much shorter and cleaner route to the sheds and help prevent it from having to make any tight turns or awkward maneuvers around the yard. Once the new entrance is finished, I'll begin creating all of our new auto drive routes around the farm. The goal is to have our hired worker haul bales directly from the field, drive back to the farm, and unload them completely automatically. The only challenge is that our 3 bale storage sheds all require the truck and trailer to reverse into them before unloading. So getting this route working properly is probably going to be the trickiest part of the entire setup. To make things a little easier, I'm going to use one of the placeable auto drive reverse courses. These placeables give us a solid starting point for backing trailers into buildings. But since they aren't really designed around a full-size semi-truck pulling a long drop deck trailer, I have a feeling we're going to have to make a few adjustments. I'll probably end up extending the reversing route a little farther back, so the truck has plenty of room to straighten itself out before beginning to reverse into the shed. Once everything is connected together and we've finished creating the complete loop from the wheat field to the bale storage sheds and back again, it'll be time for the real test. I'll hand the truck over to Courseplay to continue collecting bales out in the field. And as soon as the trailer is completely full, Auto Drive should automatically take control, haul the truck all the way back to the farm, reverse it into one of our storage sheds, unload every bale, and then send the truck right back out to the field to repeat the entire process. If everything works the way I'm hoping, we'll have our first fully automated bale hauling operation up and running, allowing us to keep collecting hundreds of straw bales in the background while we continue focusing on the rest of our harvest. Well, we managed to get everything set up and running with our new bale collection system, but it looks like we've run into a small hiccup. For some reason, Courseplay isn't recognizing when our Demco drop deck trailer is completely full of bales. Instead of stopping and handing the truck over to auto drive, it just keeps driving around the field trying to collect more bales even though there's no more room left on the trailer. This is actually something I've run into a few times before with this setup, and I'm honestly not sure whether it's an issue with the Universal Auto Load mod or if it's something on the Courseplay side of things. I'll have to do a little troubleshooting off camera before the next episode and see if I can figure out exactly what's causing it. Hopefully it's something simple, because I'd really like to get this entire bale hauling operation fully automated. For now though, it's not the end of the world. I'll just keep an eye on the truck while we're busy harvesting oats, and whenever I notice the trailer is completely full, I'll simply hop over, switch the truck from Courseplay over to auto drive, and let it continue the rest of the job. From there, it should follow the brand new routes we just created, drive back to the Mega Beef farm, reverse itself into one of our bale storage sheds, unload every bale, and then return to the wheat field where I can put it back on a Courseplay to continue collecting bales. So while it's not quite the fully automated system I was hoping for, we've still managed to automate the majority of the process. Even with that one extra step, this setup is going to save us a tremendous amount of time compared to driving back and forth collecting every single load of bales ourselves. Hopefully by the next episode, I'll have this issue sorted out, and we can have the entire operation running completely hands-free. Well, it looks like our first case, IH Axial Flow 9240 combine, has officially finished harvesting this 100-acre oat field. I'll get the grain tank emptied one final time, fold the combine up, and send it back to the Mega Bee farm while we wait for our second combine to finish the last few passes. After wrapping up the 200-acre wheat harvest in the last episode, we're now only moments away from completing our entire mid-season harvest here on the Mega Bee farm. Across the road, our John Deere 8410 has also just finished baling every straw swath from that massive 200-acre wheat field. That means it's time to move the baler over here and begin collecting all of the straw that's being left behind from this oat harvest as well. Before we head to the field, though, I'm going to make a quick stop at the local dealership to pick up another pallet of baled twine. We used an incredible amount of twine, producing hundreds of large Heston bales from the wheat field. So I'd like to get the Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler completely refilled before we send it back out of work. Once we arrive back at the oat field, I'll jump into our remaining combine and copy its coarse play course over to the John Deere 8410. Just like we did in the wheat field, this will allow our hired worker to follow the exact same paths the combines harvested, ensuring we pick up virtually every straw swath and maximize the amount of bedding we produce for our 3,000 beef cattle. By the time the baler is ready to go, our second case IH 9240 combine should be finishing its final pass as well. I'll get it unloaded, folded up, and sent back to the farm. Then we'll empty both of our J and M extended reach 1112 auger wagons before sending our John Deere 8400R and John Deere 8345R back to the yard too. I'll then hop into one of our semi-trucks and personally haul the final load of oats back to the Mega Bee farm so we can officially close out another successful harvest. Once everything arrives back at the farm, we'll unload the final oats into our grain silos, give our entire harvesting fleet a well-earned wash, and park all of the equipment back inside the sheds until it's needed again later this season. But the work doesn't stop there. Before the day is over, I'll grab our Kenworth T800, unhook the Wilson grain trailer, and head back to the dealership to purchase a second Demco drop deck trailer. With two bale trailers working at the same time, we'll finally be able to ramp up our bale collection operation and start hauling hundreds of large square bales back to our storage sheds much faster as we continue building the massive straw stockpile our future 3,000 head beef operation is going to need. Today was another very productive day here on the Reading, Minnesota Mega Beef Farm. We officially finished harvesting our entire 100-acre oat field, bringing another great crop back to the grain silos and wrapping up our mid-season grain harvests. With both of our Case IH Axial Flow 9240 combines now washed up and parked away, we can finally shift our full attention over to one of the most important jobs for our future beef operation: building up a massive stockpile of straw. Our John Deere 8410 and Massey Ferguson 2190 Heston baler did an incredible job over in the 200-acre wheat field. By the time the baler finished working through every straw swath, it had produced an unbelievable 317 large Heston bales. Considering each one of those bales holds over 13,000 liters of straw, we've already built up an enormous amount of bedding that our 3,000 beef cattle will eventually rely on. The exciting part is we're not even close to finished yet. Now that the wheat field is complete, we've moved the baler over to the 100-acre oat field, where it has already started working through another huge supply of straw. Judging by how much straw we've already seen coming off this field, I'm expecting we'll produce another 150 to 200 large Heston bales before everything is finished. That'll leave us with well over 450 large Heston bales from just these two fields alone, giving us an incredible stockpile to support the expansion of our cattle operation. At the same time, we've also begun hauling all of those bales back to the Mega Beef Farm. Our new bale hauling setup is already saving us a tremendous amount of time, and once I get the last few automation issues sorted out, I think it's going to become one of the most useful systems we've built on this farm so far. Looking ahead to the next episode, we'll continue pushing through the straw harvest as we finish baling the oat field and keep hauling hundreds of large Heston bales back to our storage sheds. Once every bale has been collected, we'll have one of the biggest straw stockpiles we've ever built, putting us one step closer to getting our 3,000 head Mega Beef Farm fully supplied for the future. But that's going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know down in the comments. How many large Heston bales do you think we'll end up with once we finish baling both the wheat and oat fields? Do you think we'll break 500 bales, or will we come up just short? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.